Welcome to the Explainer. So let's just dive right in because we're looking at a pretty bold premise today. What if I told you that the high pressure, intensely scrutinized world of professional football is actually the absolute perfect model for modern corporate management? Seriously, forget everything you thought you knew about traditional business structures. Today, we're uncovering the incredible and honestly surprising crossover between the boardroom and the dugout. To really understand why this matters, we have to take a hard look at the modern crisis of leadership. Have you ever wondered why a quarter of all CEO appointees fail to even see out their contracts? We are living in this era of unprecedented CEO churning. Running a major organization today is incredibly precarious. And you know what? The traditional textbook answers for why this keeps happening just aren't cutting it anymore.
The real core issue here is a massive shift in power. The rising influence of demanding, highly vocal investors has basically forced corporate CEOs into the exact same vulnerable, high-stakes environment that football managers have been surviving in for decades. Modern executives are now at the absolute mercy of a really disparate, demanding group of stakeholders, which is exactly like a football manager facing the board, the hardcore fans, and the media.
Now, before you brush this off as just some fun sports trivia, let's establish our source material. This is not just a casual, surface-level analogy. We're drawing from rigorous organizational theory published by Prentice Hall Business. So this is serious academic and business analysis proving that this connection is structural, real, and highly relevant to today's knowledge economy. Here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with the modern leadership crisis, then look at why football is the model. We'll compare doers versus managers, explore the importance of fit, and finally break down the manager's DNA. Part 1. The modern leadership crisis. CEO churning. To really grasp just how vulnerable the modern executive is right now, get a load of these staggering statistics. In one single month, 119 U.S. CEOs left their jobs. And get this, if you were appointed after 1985, you are literally 3 times more likely to be fired than your predecessors. The reality is that managing modern knowledge workers, people who essentially own the means of production through their own expertise, is creating unprecedented corporate turnover and immense pressure.
Moving on to part 2. Football is the model. A perfect parallel.
If we're going to find a solution to this crisis, we have to completely shift our business paradigms. For years, the famous management guru Peter Drucker championed this orchestra metaphor for business. You know, highly skilled specialists perfectly following a single conductor. But honestly, that is fundamentally flawed for today's world. Think about it. An orchestra rehearses in static conditions. Nobody changes rules mid-performance. Compare that to the dynamic, fluid, highly transitional reality of a football team, where players have to instantly switch from attack to defense. Football is the management of independence, which perfectly mirrors modern, fast-paced business. There is a remarkably exact one-to-one relationship between the corporate world and the football pitch. The shareholders, they're the fans, demanding immediate results. The CEO is the manager, desperately trying to coordinate all that talent. And your modern knowledge workers are exactly like those highly paid, highly skilled players on the field. The structure is absolutely identical. Now, corporate failure is often hidden away in boardrooms and layers of bureaucracy, sometimes taking years to finally surface. But in football, a manager essentially faces an annual general meeting every single Saturday, right in front of 40,000 screaming shareholders. It is hyper-visible, relentless judgment. Because of that, football provides this pure, compressed model where only the absolute best practice succeeds, which makes it incredibly easy for us to analyze what actually works in leadership.
All right, part 3. Doers versus managers, playing versus leading.
Let's bust a massive business myth right now. The idea that great workers automatically make great managers. We see this all the time, right? Someone is a killer accountant, so naturally they get promoted to manage the whole accounting team. But look at football. Legendary brilliant players, like Bobby Charlton, for example, often failed completely when they tried their hand at management. Meanwhile, masterful multi-trophy winning managers like Arsene Wenger or Gerard Houllier actually had completely undistinguished playing careers. Having massive functional ability has absolutely no bearing on your potential as a manager. The crucial point here is summed up perfectly by Gerard Houllier. He said, "You don't have to have been a horse to become a good jockey. Functional expertise, being the horse, and managerial ability, being the jockey, are completely different skill sets. In fact, having too much innate ability can actually be a disadvantage. Natural geniuses often completely lack the patience or the empathy to teach people who just don't have their natural gifts." Let's look at part 4, the importance of fit. cultural alignment.
Matching a leader's specific style to an organization's unique culture is just non-negotiable. Even if you have a totally proven manager, dropping them into the wrong culture is a recipe for disaster. Take George Graham. He was a highly successful manager, super well known for strict discipline and defensive efficiency at Arsenal. But when he was hired by their rivals, Tottenham Hotspur, a club that historically values flair, entertainment, and attacking football above all else, it was a massive cultural misfit. Ignoring a company's established ethos almost always leads to an internal revolt, no matter how good your tactics are. Unsurprisingly, he was eventually sacked, despite actually winning a trophy.
This really highlights the immense power of an organization's brand identity. As the former Lazio manager Sven-Göran Eriksson once noted, failing to honor the deep expectations bound up in the company's name is simply unacceptable. Whether you're running a football club or a Fortune 500 company, if a leader's methods fundamentally clash with the core brand identity, that is a sacking offense, plain and simple.
Finally, Part 5. The Manager's DNA. Traits of Success. Let's dissect the exact psychological traits that make up a truly successful modern leader. When you analyze the greatest football managers, a very specific, undeniable set of core traits emerges. If you want to survive today's talent war, you absolutely need this DNA. It's this intense mix of obsession, deep analytical skills, operational sensitivity, and incredible attention to detail, a driving ambition that is just never satisfied, and absolutely unbridled enthusiasm. Let's look a little closer at a few of these. First off, true leaders ruthlessly separate themselves from functional, day-to-day tasks. When manager Martin O'Neill was once asked by a player how he could possibly coach a position he had never played, his response was just perfect. He essentially said, "I won't be coaching you. I'm too busy winning matches." He relies entirely on his specialist coaches for that day-to-day functional training. A top CEO or manager absolutely must step back from micromanagement so they can focus purely on the overarching strategy, building the culture, and ultimately winning. But pulling back from the day-to-day definitely doesn't mean pulling back your energy. Listen to legendary manager Alex Ferguson on this. Infectious energy and a punishing work ethic are absolutely critical to success. When highly paid, highly independent knowledge workers see their leader working harder and showing more genuine passion than anyone else in the building, it motivates them in a way that money simply cannot. Pure enthusiasm is a massive, highly effective managerial tool. However, that passion has to be heavily controlled. There is a vital contrast we need to look at here. Managers like Kevin Keegan let the immense pressure show, and their visible stress, the finger jobbing, the emotional tirades directly cause their teams to falter and collapse. Now, contrast that with Sven-Göran Eriksson's quiet, analytical authority. Deep, stabilizing calm under pressure is what gives your team the confidence to perform at their best. Think about it. If the boss panics, the workers panic. And finally, there is the absolute necessity of operational sensitivity and laser-focused attention to detail. Great managers like Bob Paisley were actually famous for having photographic memories. They knew every tiny detail, every player's name, every single pass strategy. To be a top CEO, you cannot just be a big picture thinker. You have to retain a firm, detailed grasp of the incredibly complex operational reality of your business, or you will completely fail at execution. So, I'm going to leave you with this final provocative thought today. Take a really hard look at your own corporate hierarchy. Are you promoting people just because they happen to be the best accountants, the best coders, or the best salespeople? Or are you looking through the ruthless, merit-based lens of the football dugout and promoting leaders who actually possess true managerial DNA? Think about it, because the ultimate success of your team entirely depends on that answer.